So welcome everybody to this month's version of the check-in webinar. We have a special version of the check-in webinar this month where we're actually featuring a Clockwork customer. So on this webinar, we have level 5 partners run by Tom April, who's joining us today. And essentially what we're going to get into today is more of a conversation around a specific part of Tom's BD process in business development when it comes to pitching Clockwork to the people that he's working with, the people that he's selling his services to, and how that really works, what that conversation might look like. I think this is a very good topic for us to get into. I know for myself, this is a conversation that I have with a lot of customers at Clockwork is, how are firms leveraging Clockwork in their BD efforts, and how are they positioning Clockwork, right? So without further ado, Tom, would love, before we hop into your slides here, would love for you to just do a quick intro into, who you are, and a little bit about Level 5, your firm, and then we can kind of get into the conversation from there.
Thanks, Dan, very much. Really appreciate it. And thanks, Clockwork, for being a great host and being a great partner to the executive search space. So, thank you very much for that. For those of you that may have seen us on LinkedIn, may not have seen us on LinkedIn, we're out there as a member of the LinkedIn network. I've been in the executive search space now for 24 years or so on all sides of executive search, retained, contingent, corporate recruitment. I managed about a $12 billion segment of Accenture's leadership hiring practice with about 10 recruiters a couple careers ago. So my insights and what I'm sharing with the group today is really based on the view of what a corporate recruiter would look at, what a CHRO might look at, what they may find beneficial. And I've kind of blended that into a story and a pitch that Dan and team have asked me to share as to why Clockwork, what's the benefit of it, what's the strength of it, not just for us internal to executive search, but also as a tool to present to clients to win business for yourself and your firm as you guys pitch products going into 2025.
Nice. Love it. So Tom, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen here, and if we can flip over to your screen. I know you have a few slides prepared, and just for the general group here, this is going to be more of a conversation, right? Tom's going to talk about some points about how he's, positioning Clockwork and the benefits. But we welcome any questions that are going to come in around, anything specific in Tom's BD process. Any other questions that you might want to hear from Tom. This is a great opportunity to, talk to an actual Clockwork customer. So feel free and put anything in the chat, and I'll be monitoring the chat to then hand over any questions to Tom, or if you have any questions for me as well, happy to take them. Tom, are you able to share your screen here?
Let's see here. Were you going to share with me?
If you're in the Zoom window here at the very bottom, you should have that green share button. Yeah, I'm gonna hit allow here. Great.
Can you see the screen or see a screen?
Not yet. Try the share button once more. I also have your slides up as well if you aren't able to.
Okay, give me just 1 second here. All right, I am sharing.
Thaddeus, are you able to see Tom's slides? I'm not able to. Oh,
Let's see. They're slowly, looks like they're slowly coming up. There we go. Clockwork and business development. Yep, I
yep,
can.
great.
Okay, great. I'm assuming that the audience is both existing user or new users. Maybe you guys can put into the chat how many are potential users or new users. That'll give you some idea as to how to, frame the conversation and discussion going forward. As you're doing that, one of the things that I have been a major proponent of with Clockwork is not only the strength of the platform helping to manage an executive search firm, but I've made comment to the team that it's a very strong selling tool for client presentations and client pitches. And as I've spoken to the Clockwork group, they've asked me numerous times when and how and when do I bake in the first, mention of Clockwork and the infrastructure that we have in place. And so what I thought I would do is just kind of, pitch how we use Clockwork as a tool for marketing. And what you're looking at is literally on our website that we start immediately talking about the tools that we use in our business to promote, our platform and the key differences between our executive search firm and others that are out there in the marketplace. So early on, start selling the backbone, start selling the infrastructure that you have in place to be a key differentiator to different firms in the marketplace. From there, as we are building presentations and decks for outbound distribution, we are literally taking screenshots, and they could be screenshots that you have made up that may not be part of a specific search. But in this case, if you look closely enough, one of our clients, is highlighted there. But this is a deck that we put together. And depending on the extent of the presentation and the depth of the presentation, we may have a page, we may have 2 pages, we may have 1 page with multiple slides on the Clockwork platform. I use it as a significant tool to talk about the analytics, to talk about the dashboard, to talk about the feature functionality of the product, to really elevate level 5 from what we deliver to a client and how we deliver it to a client. So every deck, I think, to help facilitate yourself and separate yourself from some of the other search firms that are out there, I would recommend putting in some type of a sample of your infrastructure that you have in place being Clockwork.
Tom, I got a couple of questions
Yep.
That I'm just curious about. One is, so I know you're putting these decks together. Have you had a chance to, when speaking with a prospective client, to share your screen and actually walk them through a project in Clockwork? I'm curious to know if there has been appetite for that on the client side. Are you, is that something you're actively doing to kind of, give them more context as to the work you're doing in Clockwork?
We always make the offer. We always make that a part of the conversation very early on in the pitch to a client, whether it be the first time, the second time, or early in the third time. We'll reference it that we'd love to give you a demo. We'd like to show you our infrastructure that's in place. So the answer is yes, we always offer. And beyond that, I would say that the level of interest is probably 50-50% of those that take you up on it. But even if a client doesn't take you up on it, just knowing that you have the tool in place, you have the platform in place, is a real key differentiator when you're competing against another search firm, perhaps.
Yep. Yeah, and to build on that, what I've seen from successful customers when it comes to like this part of their BD process is using that phrase like turnkey. you can build a sort of like a pitch project in Clockwork, right? That is kind of mirroring the potential search that you're going to work on with this prospect, and showing them, hey, here's what a project looks like in Clockwork. Here are some sample profiles, right? That might be some good benchmark profiles for this role that we're searching for, and showing the firm that or showing your client rather, that you're ready to, once you hit the go button, you have what you need already in place to hit the go button and just start the search. So I love that turnkey phrase, because it just shows you that you're buttoned up, you're ready to go, and that obviously makes the prospect feel more comfortable with their decision, right?
Yeah, correct. We've won business by showing the Clockwork platform. I know that sounds kind of silly. I know that most organizations use it as a kind of a back office tool, but if you bring it up to the front room and you use it as part of your sales pitch, I'm 90% certain your client, the person that you're pitching to, is going to say, wow, I have not seen this before with other search firms. They'll see it as a key differentiator when you're pitching your organization to a potential client.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the things that I thought I would point out on this page is how each project will be crafted and designed specifically for your client. So if you wanted to go to the extent of setting them up, putting them in the system, their logo is going to be on the right hand side of the page. They're going to be pretty impressed with that. You're going to be able to show them how they would be invited to the platform. You'll be able to show them what the client view will look like. I don't have that on this page, but when you get a little bit more educated, if you're a first-time user, you'll be able to quickly pivot to the client screen and be able to show them, what they're going to be able to see. One of the things that I really like to do is to talk about the fact that they can sit watching TV on a Saturday afternoon. They could be looking at the platform, they could be looking at the candidates, and they could reply back to you 24/7, 365. They could send you a note, what they like, what they don't like about an individual. Gee, I really like this candidate. Maybe they're in the sourcing, maybe they're in the research phase.
That's
The
a great
client,
point. So where there's a couple different places to contact, the search firm in a project. Where are you typically seeing that communication happening? Is it there, in the long list, you can comment there on candidates. You can actually click into their, candidate profiles and maybe leave a comment. From your experience, where are you seeing that, that communication happening? Where in the project is that typically happening?
Since 99, we have one client that we started with 5 years ago that still is on a contingent basis, but everybody else is a retained client of ours. So we open up the platform to them under contract so they can see all the candidates regardless of whatever phase they are in within the scope of that one specific project. Dan, they can see, the first week, they can see the long list, they can see the research. I think what's really important to note is that, and Dan, you can talk about this more specifically. As a search firm, you can limit what the client sees. You can mask various different levels where they can only see certain segments of the population, so to speak, of the research that you're doing.
Yep, that's correct. Yep.
The other piece that I think is really important to note and highlight is the analytics of it. Since we have a very low point of entry for executive search or search firms to enter the marketplace, I think that highlighting, and this is why I really like Clockwork, is that they have a really nice dashboard for analytics, being able to show the individual, and you can scroll down and you can mouse over to various different vertical charts, and you can click on those for the client, and you can kind of show them how many candidates are in a certain project. So it's more interactive, but the presentation to the client is going to really show your prospective client that you're committed to the business. You're committed to servicing them. You are different from the rest of the competition that's out there.
Is there a data point that you're finding your clients typically asking for on the dashboard view you have here? I know one is like diversity metrics, so you can create, custom fields in Clockwork and maybe tag by gender or ethnicity or language or whatever it might be. Do you find that some of your clients are looking for specific data points that you then can, show in this dashboard view here? I know this is kind of getting away from the BD topic, but I'm just curious to know from you if there is like, how you might be thinking about setting up the analytics in the dashboard of a project.
We'll touch on this when the project is live, when we're under contract. We, as search firms, we always offer status calls, whether it be weekly, whether it be twice a month. Most of the time is somewhat limited. So, we will talk about candidates that have been added to the platform from the previous week. We will then immediately, from a status report perspective, go directly into the actual candidate pipeline itself, Dan. So you're a great point man. If they wanted something deeper than that, one of the nice features of Clockwork is that you're going to be able to create a custom report. And you're going to be able to peel it off, and you're going to be able to deliver that in various fashions should the client want to see something hard copy from you. So that's how we would probably handle something deeper.
Got it.
Okay.
Nice. Yeah.
The candidate advancement process, I think this is a pretty nice feature where you have the entire depth of the candidates that are in that project, presenting notes. So you can highlight the notes, you can mask the notes, you can take the notes from the actual client itself, and you can see what they're saying. The additional nice thing about the platform, if you encourage and you invite the recruiter to participate and add comment, you're going to get real-time notification. So when they send a note to you, you're going to see it. You're going to see it on a Saturday afternoon. You're going to see it on a Sunday, when it comes across and it comes into your email, which I think is pretty neat to see that real-time feature.
Yep.
Let's see, are there any questions specific to this page?
I don't have any questions, but once again, would welcome any questions from the attendees here. Anything that Tom's talking about, or anything in this general, realm that of presenting Clockwork to a prospect, feel free and throw it in the chat. But Tom, feel free and continue on.
I'll then, go to a little bit of a deeper dive, perhaps during the demo, with a prospective CHRO, Chief People Officer, Head of Talent. And some of the things that I touch base on is when you look at a candidate, and I'm looking at the, Kurt on the page there, where the recruiter is going to be able to look at that individual. They're going to be able to click the folder, and they're going to be able to easily open up what you have created, whether it be a simple resume, whether it be an executive report, but they're going to be able to read what you want them to see. Again, separating yourself from the masses out there from an executive search perspective. Easy LinkedIn lookup. Maybe it's early in the process. Maybe you're doing a status report. Maybe you don't have the resume. Maybe you haven't created your executive profile yet, but you could then easily pivot to the LinkedIn. And, I'll pivot to that, and I'll say, if you want, you can click the LinkedIn, and you could talk about that candidate right then and there. Again, during a status call, or whether it be during an early pitch. Go ahead.
Sorry to cut you off. we have a question from Susan here who asked, is there much of a learning curve for new clients? So do you know, like for your clients here, and maybe you have a client who isn't familiar with Clockwork, you know, how are you kind of onboarding them, training them on how the collaboration between you and the client is going to go, where to look, right? I have my own thoughts, but I want to see what, you know, how you treat someone who's looking at Clockwork for the first time.
So Susan, I don't know if you are a new user thinking about joining the platform, joining the network. But if so I'll preface it this way. When you are signing up a new client, you're under contract, you're setting up the invites. One of the really, really nice things with Clockwork is when you send the invite, which is a couple pages ago, right over here, if you see there's a little plus, that's where you will add, you know, John Smith or, you know, Jane Doe to the project. That'll be an invite that'll go directly to their email, their Outlook email, and they would then follow the instructions and sign up. Every once in a while, they're going to come back to you to say, I did something wrong, I can't sign up. A really nice function with Clockwork is that if you send an email to the team, they're going to have somebody from technical support jump on a call or share an email with the user or the client to help get onto the platform. It's happened 4 or 5 times over the last 4 or 5 years, and they have been very supportive to help the client get onto the platform. From an ease of use and navigation, they can't hurt themselves, they can't hurt the system, they can't delete clients, they can't, or not clients, but they can't delete candidates. So they really can't do much damage from looking around. The question about training and education, I would see that as an excellent time for you to spend more time with that recruiter, making them feel comfortable, getting them comfortable with you, building that relationship, building that network with them, strengthening that relationship. I would do a one-on-one with them and get them really, really comfortable.
Yeah. I'd say my tip is Tom kind of mentioned this in the admin tab of a project. You have the ability to turn on and off certain modules in the project for the client to see, right? So the first thing you want to do is go in there and clean it up. If there are only certain things you want them to see, let's turn everything else off to make it easier for the client to understand where are they going, what are they looking for, right? So it might just be that you turn on the long list and you just tell them, hey, you're going to see this long list. It's going to have these things on it, right? This is what you should do with that, rather than keeping everything turned on. They don't know what's important, what's not important, right? So having that figured out before engaging them. And then when you engage them, I would say it would be nice to have some bullet points, almost like how Clockwork demos, or how we demo Clockwork to, prospects. You want to have your own demo. You want to have a demo track set for anyone that you're bringing on to say, hey, this is the this is the strategy view in a project. This is where we do XYZ and what you should be looking out for in the strategy view, right? So almost like 2 to 3 high-level bullet points of what kind of information is in each module in the project and why is it important for the recruiter to see, right?
Dan made the comment clean up. He used the word clean up. And I would concur with that. When you are setting up the project, you're going to want to spend, time building the project. Right here, there's a little gear, and that is where you would set up what you want your client to see. maybe on the first status call, you open it up. And maybe you show the candidates that are in, research, perhaps. But as you get deeper into the number of weeks that the search is open and you're advancing candidates, maybe that long list gets too big. Maybe you have candidates in research and you have 100 candidates in research and you don't want them to see all of that work. So you just mask it and they only then see, candidates that are in the interviewing process. So it's that's a really nice feature of Clockwork.
Tom, I got another question for you. This one's from Aaron. Aaron would like to know if you could speak specifically about how Clockwork helped you land a search or a client. So is there a sale in your mind where when you brought up Clockwork and it really helped you kind of push a deal along the line? Is there a specific example you can kind of just expand on a little bit?
I use Clockwork, and I mean this, you guys, I use Clockwork as a selling tool. Not only do I use it as a backbone of level 5, but I use it as early as possible in the sales process. I wouldn't use it on the first email that you're sending out to a CHRO or chief revenue officer or head of talent. But as soon as you get the opportunity to start talking about the richness of your organization, you want to start talking about the analytics that your firm can deliver to the client. 90+% of the search firms out there don't have the analytic capability of Clockwork. I know that because I've been on the side of corporate talent acquisition for 15, 16 of the 24, 25 years. So anytime you get the chance to bake in the story about the analytics, the analytic capability of your firm that now has Clockwork, the stronger you're going to be in the presentation of strengthening why should they hire your company.
Yep.
I don't know if that answers the question, but I use it as part of the sales pitch almost at every step along the way.
Yep. Yep. Love it.
Oh,
So
I
I
hope
guess,
that helps, Aaron.
yeah, no, for me that helps because we can just see how it's become an integrated part of the pitch. It's not, it's one of your main differentiators, which is great. Great to see. And that's, what I have seen as well in terms of the firms that are savvy on the BD side is they're looking at Clockwork and they're saying, hey, this is something that we can position ourselves with, right? Take advantage of that, right? So love to see it.
Hopefully I answered your question from the other partner search firm out there.
Yep.
We talked about some of the richness. You can mask the notes so they can't see the notes along the way. If you don't want them to see some of the internal notes, you can make that visible. But I do highlight that, this is a feature that, that they will be able to provide content and feedback to. And I think I think that makes them feel comfortable. One was a Fortune 100 global consulting firm that actually took advantage of, sending comment back, in the evenings and on the weekends. And they pointed out, I like this candidate. Can you get this candidate scheduled? So, it just provides that a little added touch of, I sell the platform as this is your platform. This is your platform for you to look at your candidates. Most search firms don't show the candidates.
Yeah. I
I
know.
see as showing the candidates as this is your platform. These are your candidates. This is why you're paying us to do the search for you.
Right.
It's a level of comfort.
very curious to know your thoughts, Tom, on conversations you've had with current clients or prospective clients about this versus reporting over a Google Sheet of candidates, right? So what I hear, being on the customer side of Clockwork a lot is some firms will say, hey, we love Clockwork for the project management side, but for the reporting side, our clients just want to see, a standard Google Sheet or something like that, because that's what they've always, done, right? So I'm curious to know your experience in terms of uh, has there been any times where there's been friction between you showing this client collaboration platform and someone saying, hey, this that's cool, but we're actually, we just want you to send us an Excel spreadsheet. How do you handle those conversations with someone who's looking to kind of they're not fully buying into the client collaboration in Clockwork? They don't really want to sign in. They don't want to have to take a look at those reports. They just want what they've always received since the beginning, which is a more static report.
Well, I think that it's an interesting comment, and I think my gut reply would be that we didn't do a very good job pitching the process, why you hired us. And the reason that you hired us was to provide a very uniform, elevated presentation of the candidates with depth and notes.
Mm-hmm.
In the event the client still wants an Excel spreadsheet, you can say to them, fine, we can still give you that Excel spreadsheet through the reporting capabilities, whether we do it on a status call, whether we do it, that we send it to you. I like to be in front of the client. I like to be engaged with the client. Anytime that you could speak to the client, you're selling yourself, you're selling credibility, you're selling the fact that you need to stay with me because the next call that they're going to get is from another search firm, and they're going to tell you why you should hire the other search firm. So I think the presentation layer, the cleanliness, the how Clockwork is presented is going to really elevate you and separate yourself from the Excel spreadsheets, the Google Sheets of the world. But if a client should want an Excel spreadsheet, I don't know if I would deliver it to them in an Excel manner. I might show it to them via a Zoom like this, because I want to manage the conversation. I want to try to control the narrative. And so I may not give all of that data to the client for various reasons.
Yep. What I like about your response is that you're first going back to, how could we have positioned this better? So what I see some firms doing is they fold right away and they say, okay, you want the report, here you go. And they're not really thinking about the value that they could be, attaching to their firm, in that there's a project management tool out there. It has collaborative capabilities. It has certain reporting that, you can't really capture over just a list of candidates on an Excel spreadsheet, right? At least giving it that first effort of saying, hey, this is how we run our firm. This is what we do with our clients. Here are the benefits of that. And here is how we like to run a search. Is at least, even if that doesn't land, I think that effort in really driving that, it still resonates in their mind, right? They see that you're buttoned up. They see that there's the ability. You're basically opening up your system of record for them to come in. You're saying, hey, we would want you to come in and see what's going on, versus the black box of, hey, we'll just send you a report after we've done our stuff in the back end, right? So I think that's the the change that we're seeing, at least in executive recruiting, is going from what was a black box to more transparent, search work, which is maybe not an expectation for all clients, but that expectation is growing, that you can provide more data, more context over what's going on within the search project.
I would concur with that. 90+% of the search firms out there will not share the candidate data visually. They will try to control the narrative. They'll try to share 1, 2, 3, 4 candidates, and they will try to, control the narrative from that perspective. I think that as a former corporate recruiter, when you show that you are a team member to them and you show that you have a long list of individuals that you've worked very hard, they're going to have greater respect for you in that capacity. And they're going to think of you as more of a trusted partner versus just another external search firm that's pitching a resume.
Right. Awesome. I think we've covered the slides. Is there anything else, Tom, that you want to that you'd like to kind of wrap up with?
No, I think I appreciate you guys asking us to present how we leverage Clockwork from a sales tool perspective. It's a great platform. I don't know how many people are on the line here that are prospective versus existing.
All existing, all
All
customers.
existing. Okay, very good. Well,
Yep.
you guys are doing a great job from a vendor perspective. Keep up the good work, and I think it's an excellent platform.
Awesome. That sounds good. Well, that wraps it up for this month's version of the check-in webinar. We appreciate everyone that's attended here. Feel free and write into us in terms of how you guys are enjoying these webinars. If you have any ideas that you'd like to to bring for subsequent webinars, feel free and reach out to us as well. My name is Dan. I'm the account manager here. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to me directly as well at dan@clockworkrecruiting.com. And thank you for everyone for joining. And Tom, thank you especially for giving us your time and talking about Clockwork with us.
Thank you very much, Dan. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone.